Welcome to Eventful Endeavors, secrets to crafting the perfect celebration. If you're planning an event and looking for useful tips from industry experts, you're in the right place. So get ready to take some notes and we'll dive right in. This is Eventful Endeavors.
Hey everyone, this is Alyssa from Felix and Fingers here on Eventful Endeavors. We are so excited to have Hanna Defoe of Hanna Marie Events here today with us. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Awesome. Okay, we're going to jump right in because Hanna has a lot of advice. We've been talking before this call, and I'm so excited because she's sharing things that I've never heard before as someone who's seen a lot of things at weddings. So my first question for you is going to be, what is a trend that you've seen recently?
Yeah, so a couple that I've seen probably at the end of last year and beginning of this year. I don't know if it's so much a trend as more of just something that people are, I guess that's kind of what a trend is. People are starting to do, which I don't want to call it a trend because I feel like trend means it's only here for like a little bit. But two things that I've seen that I really like is when the bride and groom, if the timeline allows, to just go and have like a personal dinner together. I feel like sometimes dinner is just so rushed and to take 10 minutes to actually enjoy the food, talk, be alone, and then that way you can still come out. You can still be at the table and chat with everyone, but you're not so rushed to like get your food, cut the cake, do all those things. So I like that. My other one is I've had two weddings do this now, and I think it really depends on the wedding and the vibe, but the wedding party being seated during the ceremony. And I remember when I first heard this one, how I feel about this, but like they still go up there, stand for a photo, but then they're seated, and then all of the attention, is on the bride and groom. Some couples maybe don't want to do a ton with like flowers for the bridesmaids, so this way they're not like standing up there awkwardly, like not sure what to do with their hands. So those are two that I've kind of seen that I like.
I love that. Yeah. Okay, so this next one I'm very excited about because I know you and I have talked a lot about this. What are some small details that you feel like often get missed? Because I know like people will sit with their wedding binders and plan out all these big things, but there's so many small little details that go into a wedding day. And I just want to know, what are some things you think people just forget to think about?
Yeah, great question. My number one is the cake box. So no matter how much communication we have, with the dessert person leaving the dessert and the cake, and make sure to save the box. Sometimes things just get recycled, or a venue person or someone sees the box and recycles it, and then we're left without a cake box to put the cake into if the couple is saving it or whatnot. And it's not like you can just use any normal box. Like you have to have one that is tall enough for the 1 or 2 or 3 tier cake. So we actually started buying some 2-tiered cake boxes from Hobby Lobby, and each of like myself, my lead coordinators, just keep a couple in our vehicles, and that way if we do have to have one, we have it on hand. We don't have to worry about going to grab it. I think it's just something that even no matter what kind of communication you have, even when I'm communicating it, it's just busy on the wedding day and something that often just gets tossed or not the right size or something, so we always have that on hand.
I love that. I feel like the hallmark of being a wedding vendor is having extras of everything in your car.
Yeah,
my car is like filled to the brim at all points. I have so many extra cables, so many extra things. I was like, everybody that I know that works in the wedding industry, just their car's full of just in case.
Just random stuff. Yep. We even started having a card box at one point because there was these these card boxes on Etsy that you can get. Like they're like hexagon and they're super cute and they can be customized to your names, but they don't fit like 50% of the envelopes that like go into like that would need to go in the card box. So we had a couple of those last year, and I started keeping an extra card box just in case, because people were just like laying their cards next to the box and they like didn't look great. So I don't think many people are buying those Etsy ones anymore, but yeah, just
I love that. Again, such a small detail that you wouldn't know even know to think about unless it's something that you've seen before.
Yep.
Okay, so kind of going along the same lines, I want to ask you, this is can be like a hot topic, but is there something that you think couples should always do and something that they should never do?
I would say they should never try to do tear down themselves. Now, people are like, hey, I get a couple people at the end of the night, save some money, like it's no problem. But tear down is a lot more work than people think. Like even I didn't realize how much tear down entailed until I started doing weddings. And after doing a couple weddings back in 2022, I'm like, yep, I'm hiring a team. I'm always having an assistant. Like there's just a lot, like floating candles, for example. You got to dump out the water. You got to get the water outside. We always have a bucket for that to dump the water into. You got to do something with the candle. You got to put the vase back in the box, get the box in the car. There's just a lot of steps and making sure it's organized and things aren't going to break. Now, some people want to do setup themselves, which depending on your vendors that you hire and what the florist is doing, it's not too bad if you want to do it quick in the morning before hair and makeup. But the tear down, no one wants to tear down after a long day. Like, no one.
Definitely.
No one.
And also, something that I think people forget is that everything takes much longer than you think it's going to take. Yep. And you don't want to get the fee from the venue for being out late. That is like because if you're dancing,
you're dancing till midnight, you only have till 1 a.m. That's not a lot of time. Like when we do tear down, we are starting small throughout the night. We're putting away like, just like place cards and stuff and menus and then table numbers and things that aren't being used, ceremony stuff. So we do it throughout the night. We're not just doing it that last hour. Some people might do it just the last hour, but that would stress me out way too much. So.
Definitely. Yeah. Okay, so with that, what is something that they should always do?
Can I just say always hire someone for tear down? Just kidding.
Hey, that
just
works
kidding.
For both.
Yeah, I'll just say always hire someone for tear down.
That is, that really is such a good, kind of like we were talking about earlier. There's so many, it's those little details that I think so many people, like one of the things that I always say is like, you want to get rid of as much stress as possible so you get to enjoy your day. And I think that the things that often create the most stress are things that aren't stressful necessarily. They're all the little things that add up and add up and add up. And that's what ends up making the day stressful.
Right.
And so I think those little details are so important because, I'm somebody, I love planning, but I know not everybody does. And so that those little tiny things I think are so important.
Just add up. Yeah. Because the tear down, it's not just decor. It's the cards, the gifts. If you get extra food, desserts, like all of that, like where's all that going? That's something that we cover in one of our last meetings just so we can put it away, not to have couples worry about that at the end of the night. And some people are able to handle the tear down and do it themselves, but yeah, it's not fun, especially for your family and friends after a long, fun day. But
definitely. Yeah. Plus, you're all sweaty from dancing.
Yeah. God, I'm so tear down is it's a lot.
That's why I always tell people the detail that I always think about is I'm like, if it's in the summer, make sure it has some good AC.
Yeah.
If you're going to be dancing,
if you're doing tear down too, is.
Definitely. Or a heater in the winter. You don't want to be too hot, too cold.
Right.
Yes, for sure. Okay, question for you. Can you tell me just a little bit about how you got into the wedding planning industry and what your favorite part of your job is?
Yes, great question. I wasn't necessarily working the hospitality industry prior to getting to wedding planning. It's not like I had this dream since I was a little girl to be a wedding planner, but I always have loved planning. Like I planned out holidays months in advance. I planned out my birthday months in advance. I just had to know every detail, had to know what's going on. I can have a vacation planned in like 10 minutes. Like I just love those details. So I was working full-time in HR for about 8 years. And a couple years ago, I just knew that this wasn't my forever thing. And I didn't want to necessarily get another full-time job. I just working for someone else. Some people can do it. It was exhausting. And I felt like I was just working my life away. So I had a conversation when I was with my brother and sister-in-law in Portland. And she asked me if I could do anything. What would you want to do? And I want to do some sort of like corporate planning or event planning. I even remember telling her I didn't want to do weddings because I didn't want to work the weekends. And I sat in that conversation for like 3 weeks. I'm like, you know what? I will always remember the day. It was Friday, September 10th. I woke up and I'm like, I'm going to start a wedding planning business. Like, I know nothing about entrepreneurship. I do have a business degree and I worked in HR, so I at least know that side. But I wow, the amount of stuff that I had no idea back then. So a couple weeks later, my business was formed, started taking bookings, and that's kind of how the business started. And I already forgot your second question for that.
What is your favorite part of your job?
My favorite part, everyone I get to work with, like the couples, and just like getting to know them. Like every wedding is just so unique. Like every design and theme and just the wedding party, the family, like everybody is just so different, but truly getting to like know the couples, know their style, even if I'm not like planning with them and just doing the coordinating, like still getting to know them, following them on Instagram, seeing, you know, their story in their life, and seeing their bridal shower and their bachelorette party and what they're doing. Like it's just so fun to see all those details that still make up like their wedding day and who they are. So I think that's my favorite part for sure.
I love that. And if you go look at Hanna's website and go look on there, like you can really tell like how different every wedding is, which is something that I always like whenever that's something that I'm very passionate about, is your wedding should be your wedding. It should be authentic to you.
I agree.
And that is something, you know, that's why I always am like, give me all the requests. I want to play every song that you dance to in your bathroom in front of your mirror in middle school. Like I want everybody's wedding to always feel like it's the day that commemorates all of the memories all in one room.
Right. I agree. I love that.
I love that.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, I have one last question for you.
Yes.
And this is the big one. If you have somebody who's at the very beginning of their wedding planning journey, what is the number one piece of advice you'd give them?
Yes. I think this is a very popular response that I see on Instagram all the time. And maybe other people don't see it. Maybe I just see it because I'm on like the wedding TikTok or wedding Instagram side of things. But honestly, just take a few weeks and enjoy it before you jump into the wedding planning. Because once you jump in, like you are reaching out to vendors and venues and getting emails and quotes, and it's a lot. It can be a lot. And it just takes some time, like the time that you're engaged and you're excited, this new, journey in your life, like just truly take a couple weeks to enjoy it. Of course, the number two would be to hire a wedding planner or coordinator, but I know every wedding's different. Every like need is different. So not everyone needs a wedding planner. I would say the minimum is a wedding coordinator, but once again, kind of depends on your venue and your needs, but really just enjoy being engaged. I was engaged for 2 years. It felt like the longest 2 years of my life, but I also look back now and I'm like, wow, we only dated for 2 years. We were engaged for 2 years. Now we've been married for 6. So it just seems like such a blimp, like just such a quick time in our relationship. So enjoy.
I love that. That's such good advice. I also want to jump on the second half of yours and say something that I know I'm not getting asked the questions, but my number one piece of advice that I always try to tell people is use your wedding planners, use your vendors. Like we get to sit here and talk with other vendors a lot of times, and we get to know who who has this style and who has that style, and we love referring our friends. I had another person on the podcast who she says frienders, like we love getting to refer people that we think would be great fits, and we know a lot of people, so we're able to give those. And I just think that's such a great thing, because when you have a team working together, it's such a magical thing, and it really makes us all feel like we get to make your day as authentic to you as possible.
Yes, I agree. Like even when people just book us for coordination, a year out, a couple months, year and a half, however long it is, like we're still here to give you recommendations, of course. Like we have our list of people, and we're always willing to kind of, there's different weddings, different styles and whatnot. And if some of those people aren't fitting that, we can, of course, recommend some others. But if someone has a question on like, I don't know, something random in their wedding planning, like use your vendors as resources. Email is best, of course, to just keep everything straight, especially during wedding season. But vendors are truly willing to help out. Be sure to ask, and
definitely. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Hanna, for being on the podcast today. You gave some great advice to all of our couples, and we hope everybody really enjoyed listening. So again, this is Alyssa and Hanna, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Eventful Endeavors, Secrets to Crafting the Perfect Celebration. We hope to have left you with some actionable ideas for your own event. If you like the show, please subscribe and definitely leave us a review. We read every comment. So until next time, happy planning and see you soon on Eventful Endeavors.